why is it important to talk about mental health? We were raised by men asking us, the young boys, to be men in front of men who did not enjoy their younghood. And the problem is, we teachers who are teaching, we are destroyed. We are half full. And we are raising people, demanding them, instructing them to be full human beings. When I was in high school, I had one of my English teacher, that is back in senior form. He brought to us a phrase that says, a good teacher doesn't teach from the book. Okay. He teaches from the heart. Yeah. And imagine this teacher who is teaching from the heart. If the heart is wounded, what will the children assume? What will they have? So the problem is, the teachers themselves don't know that they are suffering. Most of them are still upholding upon the fact that suffering is a badge of honor, and they are giving it to children, that they have to suffer to prove their man.
It comes out as a sign of strength.
Exactly. And my point of view towards this problem is, if you look at the academic curriculum that we are going through, 76% of the entire time of the full year is spent at school. Yeah. That means the less time is spent at home. The parents' perspective toward the child is minimal compared to the teachers. And if these children are spending more time with teachers who are wounded, we are likely to have the wounded generation coming up. Teachers are still upholding strongly to the belief that if I suffered, you have to suffer.
If we change our mindset, you suffered, it doesn't mean someone else has to suffer. Why don't you end that cycle?
I know. Why can't you be the first one to put an end to that cycle?
Exactly. That is, a lot of people are there. We are not progressing, not because of money, not because of poverty, as people would write a whole list of why we are not progressing. But in reality, sometimes we are not progressing because of our mindset. Yeah. It's not even the teachers, sometimes even the students themselves. So if we do not change our mindset as a society, there will be little to no change at all.
Hi, followers of the Hagne Space. You are so much welcome to the Hagne Space once again. We bring you greetings from East Africa. Yes, as you all know, I come here with a very strong and people that are going to help you to master the game of having wellness at the fingertips. Today, I'm so much thrilled to have my brother.
How are you?
Hi.
It's been a long time. You've been hiding yourself, I don't know, somewhere, maybe doing quite a good number of podcasts. I love that.
I've been working out.
Working out? Wow, that's a surprise. I hope the followers know about.
Yes, so I'm with my brother Harry, and I would like for him to introduce himself to the viewers of the Hagne Space.
Oh, I hope this is not my first time to be at Hagne Space. Maybe the first. But I've been there before during the launch, the Hagne Initiative launch.
The MC of all times.
Really?
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Hello, everybody. My name is Joshua Harry. I'm a little gentleman in the house, actually, and I'm here to learn. As always, I tell people I'm a student on this earth, and I will die being a student. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And I'm with my sister here. Go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Michelle Nicole Chapa. I am a public mental health doctor, a lived experience expert. Yeah, I am happy to be here today.
Thank you so much. And in our earlier conversation, you also mentioned that you're a case study.
Yeah.
Maybe before we go back to Harry, I would like you to tell our viewers about the case study lived
Yeah, I
through?
have battled depression and suicidal thoughts. That has led to me founding the Michelle Chapa Foundation that deals with mental health. I am currently based in Tanzania, but my foundation goes across because my mission is to change the mental health landscape in across Africa
Yeah.
and beyond. Yeah.
Thank you so much. So that when, as we go through this conversation, they know that, you know, it is from the heart
Yeah.
to their souls for inspiration and awareness about what mental health actually means. Back to Harry.
Yes.
Harry deals with the young souls, especially children in school, and I wanted him to talk about that a bit because this conversation is also going to help us to dig deeper into that. Let me not preempt, but I want him to, you know.
I'm a professional teacher, a public speaking coach, an organizational strategist. But something I love most, I am a Toastmaster.
Wow. Everybody here is a Toastmaster.
Yeah.
So, Toastmasters,
Where leaders are made.
where leaders are made.
Toastmasters.
There we go. So today we have a conversation that is mainly about mental health. And the question is, what is mental health anyway? What is it about? And maybe we'll start with Dr. Michelle.
For me, mental health, I always like to put it in a very short words. Mental health is how we think, act, and do every day. That is what mental health is. And the WHO says that, or the definition of health, according to WHO, is the state of being mentally, physically, and socially well,
Yeah,
and not merely absence of disease.
Yeah.
And for generation, we have been focusing on the physical aspect and the social aspect of the health. We keep forgetting the mental health.
Yeah.
And that's where the slogan, there is no health without mental health.
Aha.
Yeah.
And that's very true because I think what mainly happens is there are some diseases that manifest themselves externally because they're emanating from the mind, from the brain, let me call it that way. And then from a senior perspective, you will be able to help us unpack. Harry, do you think that's sufficient or what can you add?
Something I would add about mental health as a definition, in my perspective, and somebody who deals with young souls, I would say mental health, apart from maybe in addition to what doctor has said, it's how someone's inner world is shaped to perceive the outside world.
Wow.
That's what I call mental health because I believe, or something I've witnessed, it's our inner world determines our outer world.
Yeah.
So the mental health starts from within, how secure, how stable, and how healthy is the inner world that gives us the shape towards the external world.
Very good. Thank you so much. At the Hagne space, so at the backbone of the Hagne space, I was doing a lot of reading before the space started, and I decided to dig deeper into the key wellness features. Like, what are the things that would truly determine that I'm mentally or I'm emotionally well? I'm a full person. And so I looked at holistic wellness, and the key things that came to mind were spiritual wellness, physical wellness, social wellness, emotional wellness, financial wellness, but more so the mental wellness aspect. And I'm truly happy that today I can have somebody like Dr. Michelle to come and speak to my audience about mental wellness, well knowing that it's if you are physically well, you're spiritually well, and I will put that in quotes because everything there is connected to the mind.
Yeah.
And that's how we arrive at mental health. If there are things that you're okay with, but the mind is not okay, be sure that something will not be like we inspire, we create awareness, we educate about wellness, and we want to speak about holistic wellness without removing mental wellness. And Dr. Michelle, why is it important for us to be speaking about mental health anyway?
It's important because, as I said earlier on, there is no health without mental health. And for generations, we have been focused on the mental illnesses rather than the mental health in general. So you find that growing up, we have seen when people hear mental health, they hear someone who is unstable. So us talking about it at this day and age, we are actually kind of normalize those conversations. We are also challenging the stigma associated with it.
Yeah.
Because when I say I am not mentally fit, majority will think that I have lost my mind. But in reality, maybe I'm going through a difficult time. Maybe I lost someone. I'm grieving, or I am going through an aspect of depression. So right now, talking about mental health, we want to normalize, we want to challenge the stigma that has been there for generations, break those stigmas so that we can heal. Sometimes you find people are not really sick. They are struggling. They even go to the hospital, they do all the tests physically, but they are told they are okay. But in reality, they are sick. You find that what they are going through, it's more a mental issue than a physical issue. But they cannot know that they are going through a mental issue because talking about mental health, it has been some sort of a taboo or there is a stigma attached to it.
Yeah.
So talking about mental health is very important so that we can normalize the conversation and people, they can say, I'm not okay without being seen they are weak or they are struggling. As you know, the African setup, we have been raised to be strong women, strong men. Men are not allowed to cry. So you saying that you're struggling, it's a sort, in African aspect, you're being seen as you are weak.
The weaker part.
But in reality, it's okay for you to say, I'm not okay. And you need help. Why is it so, I always ask people, why is it so easy to say, I am having fever, I am having malaria, I am diabetic, I am hypertensive. And why is it so hard someone to say, I'm struggling, I am depressed, or I am going through anxiety right now? So you see, why is it important to talk about mental health?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And you've brought in a very strong point. We all know that in Africa, mainly, if in my family there was somebody who has a mental illness, everybody, like within the family, will try so hard to cover up.
Yes.
Like they don't want
People
for
to know.
everybody outside
Yeah.
there to know. However, there's also another in a slogan, if I would say, that it takes a village to raise a child.
Very
In this
true.
context, what I'm saying, it takes a community to help you to address the issues of that person that is struggling in your household. But if you hide it, nobody will ever get to know. In fact, when a child is struggling, people will try to say, don't say it, keep it away. But in the end, this child is not going to, even adults, they will not get issues. And mental health doesn't just happen to children, it happens to even adults of our age or even above. So it's not something to be hidden. But today's conversation is mainly geared towards helping teachers to embrace mental health. And I'm speaking to a professional teacher. What is it that people must pay attention to, especially looking at the children in elementary, in primary, in secondary, and all the way up to university? We see children struggling. Recently, I have one of my friends who reached out and she was like, I have gone to the best schools, my family was okay, but I am struggling. I'm yet to know where this came from, but it's also possible that it comes from school. Maybe a teacher told her something that has accompanied her even in her early 20s. So Tell us.
I will quote from a Bible, the King James Version, that is Hosea chapter 4 verse 6, says, "My people are destroyed for the lack of knowledge."
Yes.
I'm bringing this Bible perspective to first say why is it important to talk about mental health. We were raised by men asking us, the young boys, to be men in front of men who did not enjoy their younghood. And here comes the problem. The Bible says if a blind holds another blind, they all end up down.
Yeah.
And the problem is, we teachers who are teaching, we are destroyed. We are half full. And we are raising people, demanding them, instructing them to be full human beings. And the problem is rooted back in history. If you look at it from African perspective, we were told, as Doctor mentioned, men never cries. Men never do this. Men never do that. Men never complains. Whatever the situation, you're a man.
They say you're born to struggle.
And we wore the badge of honor, the suffering as the badge of honor. The fact that I'm suffering proves that I'm a man. The fact that I'm dying from inside proves that I'm a strong man. And we inherited this narrative from our great-grandparent to their grandparent up to now, and we are delivering it freely and proudly to the young children.
Yeah.
When I was in high school, I had one of my English teacher, that is back in senior form. He brought to us a phrase that says, a good teacher doesn't teach from the book.
Okay.
He teaches from the heart.
Yeah.
And imagine this teacher who is teaching from the heart. If the heart is wounded, what will the children assume? What will they have? So the problem is, teachers themselves don't know that they are suffering. Most of them are still upholding on the fact that suffering is a badge of honor, and they are giving it to children, that they have to suffer to prove they are man.
It comes out as a sign of strength.
Exactly. And my point of view towards this problem is, if you look at the academic curriculum that we are going through, 76% of the entire time of the full year is spent at school.
Yeah.
That means the less time is spent at home. The parent's perspective toward the child is minimal compared to the teachers. And if these children are spending more time with teachers who are wounded, we are likely to have the wounded generation coming up. So it's up to teachers to sit and evaluate themselves. Before I came to this space, I had a talk with my friend. We're talking about something, just came up. I didn't know it was actually concerning the mental health, but she got a feedback from somebody. And this person gave them a hard feedback, I would say, very harsh one. And the person was like, maybe this person has tough moment which he's delivering to me. I wasn't expecting such feedback. I've done my best. I've tried all the best I could. And this person still, regardless my effort, still gives me the harsh feedback. The funny part is nobody recognizes this.
Yeah.
None. Until we are waiting for people like doctor to come and step in. Tell us what is mental health. Thank you so much.
Wow. It's quite tough, but we want to also hear from Dr. Michelle. We can hear that you give what you have. If you are wounded, you're going to give wounds. If you grow up as a happy person, you will bring happiness and joy. But it takes effort to be able to shift from there. Because it's also possible that there are teachers that have been wounded, but based on what they have invested in themselves in terms of how can I heal? You know, sometimes there's there's a friend of mine who likes to say the answer or the solution is in the question. Some teachers ask themselves, can I heal? While others ask themselves, how can I heal? chances are the one who asks, how can I heal, is already in the process, is stepping into, into the journey of becoming a better version. Now, to you, Dr. Michelle, who has walked a journey of speaking to quite a number of people to become mentally okay, especially teachers, what are some of the solutions we can offer, at least here on the Hagne space, for especially teachers to start thinking about, to ponder as they take care of our young ones?
The first thing is majority. I can say from experience, majority, they actually don't know they're suffering. For them, they're living a normal life.
Yeah.
You find that teacher had a difficult childhood, maybe had a traumatic childhood, and he's not aware he has been traumatized. So you find he or she is traumatized, is teaching a child who is also going through some trauma.
Yeah.
Both of them are traumatized. You see where the problem is?
Yeah.
And both of them, they are not aware that they are going through some trauma. So you find both of them are struggling. And also, you might find that the child has been traumatized, maybe from home,
Yeah.
the parents, the environment of at home and the society. You find a teacher who is traumatized also. Instead of having a wellness community, they end up re-traumatizing each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So right now, what
Many times.
what I always try to say is that schools, they need to invest in their teachers. It's not even schools. I'm a champion when it comes to mental health in workplaces, and schools is one of the area of workplaces. You find that they have programs like retreats, they have holidays, they have all the timetables, but they do not have mental health days. How are they going to know that what is even mental health? Me, anytime I have a wellness session, the first question I ask my audience is, what do they understand when they hear about mental health? You'll hear a lot of explanations. Majority, they would say, it's being unstable, it's being crazy. But that's not what mental health is all
Mad.
about. Yes, that is not what mental health is all about. So at the end of the day, that teacher doesn't know.
Yeah.
So if the school equip the teachers or invest in their teachers by having mental health days, wellness sessions, sometimes you might call someone like me to come and talk to them and make them understand what mental health is all about, how to take care of themselves, how they should understand their triggers, what triggers them, and how to deal with a child who is struggling, how to identify a child who is struggling. They need to be equipped with that because you are a teacher. You have been trained to be a teacher. But as part of your training, was there a mental health training in school when you were taught?
And I hope it will never be there.
It has to be there.
Actually, there is something that came up with, was it disability in education, like inclusive education, which people tend to misunderstand with mental health. Because in inclusive education, we talk about special needs education, these children with maybe autism, but those are not mental disability. They have another kind of disability, which we classify
It's also
in mental health. But there are so many kind of disabilities.
Yes. Mental health is broad.
It's a broad thing.
Yes.
And I hope mental health is not a disability, in my perspective.
It's not.
It's not a disability. It might be a disease at some point, but it's not a disability.
I always say there is, when it comes to the scope of mental health, there is I always, when I teach, I have this pyramid where the base is where people are okay. Then there is the upper part, the following section is that people are struggling with mental health conditions. Then the top, it's the mental health illnesses. So before we go to the top, we have to go through those struggles. So mental health is you being okay and everything, but then there is mental challenges, mental problems. Do you find something like depression, anxiety, trauma, and all that? Those are some sort of mental health challenges. you go up to the mental health illnesses. And for generation, we have been focusing on the mental health illnesses,
yeah.
the schizophrenia, the psychosis, and all that. So what I was trying to tell you is that one of the tools to equip teachers is for mental health to be integrated in every sector. When teachers are being trained to be teachers, they should also be trained to know their own mental health, to know how to identify a child who is struggling, and all that. And in schools, there should be lessons about mental health. Kids, they're supposed to be aware about their mental health when they are young. It's just like, I gave it an example. I know you are a finance expert. When it comes to a lot of Africans, we are struggling with finance. Personally, what led to my mental struggles, it was also part of the finance. And right now, I am training my child to understand finance, to start investing, to start saving at this age. Sometimes he's given money from his grandparents, and he would come, Mom, so how do we do with this money? What did I say? 50% of the money you spend, 50% you save and invest. So he takes 30% to investment. So he has started saving at an age of, he's now 80 years old. So when you start teaching kids how, in Kiswahili we say, samaki mkunji angali mbichi, fold the fish while it's still young. The person will grow. And he will, even in the Bible, there is that saying, like, train the child.
Proverbs 20.
Yes, and the child will grow and not departing on the ways. So the mental health is the same. It has to be integrated in every sector because it touches every area of our lives.
And then the other thing that we need to sort of underline there is that today I may be mentally okay, like I'm classified as she's mentally healthy. But then something happens tomorrow and I'm not okay. And that's why that is why it should be, we are here to create awareness that actually in schools, mental health issues should be paramount, because that teacher that wakes up to come to school to teach, maybe he had a fight at home last night. So today morning when he's coming to teach, his mind is not okay.
Yeah.
Maybe even the triggers that he's having are going towards anxiety or depression, and if that happens day 1, day 2, day 3, all year round, then it's now moving up the pyramid. It's moving up. And that's when you will now start to see a teacher who comes to school, but he's having a conversation himself, he's having a conversation, but then the students are running around this teacher saying, oh, teacher, yes, the teacher has gone mad, because this teacher has mental issues that have not been addressed well with, which is very, very important that in schools, their mental health, like awareness, helping teachers to also be able, I think there's a mistake that the society makes. There's a tendency that teachers are very strong human beings. Have you noticed that?
Actually, they are believed to be the smartest people.
They are the smartest, that they are the strongest. And when it comes to emotions, the child runs to the teacher. When it comes to, I came to school, I wasn't sick, now I'm sick, they run to the teacher. When it comes to issues of, I didn't understand this concept, it is the teacher. So the teacher is all.
And at some point, when a teacher makes a mistake, actually when a teacher makes a mistake and the parent tries to correct, the children never understand. Until the teacher himself has to repeat that thing.
That one.
This is the pivotal role of teachers in our lives. When a teacher tells me, this watch is blue, and I have to go with that. However, my mother can tell me it's black. It's black. I can't.
No, my teacher said it is blue.
My teacher said it's blue. Period. And nothing we are adding there. We can do a debate from morning to the evening, convincing you how the teacher confirmed this watch is blue, yet you can see it's black. And this is the problem with teachers. Let me quote it from personal story. Last year, I had I would say it was one of my worst years in my life. And I personally approached the principal of the school. I told her, Madam, I am not in my shoes. Nobody asked me this because I was feeling very down. And I told the Madam, please, anytime you see me not in my shoes, guard me. I'm in school, I'm not going anywhere, but I know this time I'm not in my shoes. And one of the problems that I would say most teachers...
As a student or as a teacher?
As a teacher.
Okay.
And one problem that causes the ongoing mental health problem, people uses other people, let's say sickness or sufferings, as a weapon against them.
Yeah.
I went to the principal and told her, I am not feeling well.
You shared your vulnerability position.
I said, this is the teacher used to know, and this is the teacher who is currently here, due to A, B, C, D. The principal welcomely and warmly dealt with me in the office.
Yeah.
But the agreement or the demand or the request I said stayed in the office. Nobody was there to step up on me. The Bible says, when a brother fails, you uphold his hand.
Yes.
When you can't, you call another brother to hold your brother's hand.
Yeah.
And that was what I was expecting from there. But when the brother fell down in that scenario, the brother was stepped upon.
Yeah.
But you don't blame them.
I am not blaming. No,
I'm not saying you're blaming them. You might think that there is no a helping hand. But in reality, they don't know how to help.
Exactly.
Or how to help.
And that is why I was saying...
You find that a lot of workplaces, they don't have what we call employees-assisted programs. Employee-assisted programs are there to help the employees, whoever they are going, whatever it is they are going through with the mental health challenges, there is help. There is maybe a psychologist, a counselor, because you might be going through something. I can basically counsel you, but it will reach a point where I see I need to refer you to either a psychologist or a psychiatrist. So not everyone is trained to offer the basic support.
They just don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
So they offer what they can.
You find some they will just end up being quiet. You like, for instance, he gave a good example. He went and said that he's not himself. So if you see I am doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just know that I am not himself. So he expected to receive some sort of help, but the help is not there. But the other person doesn't know what to do with you, because you find even that other person is also going through something. But he's not maybe in a position to say, I am also going through this. There are people who are there to say, I'm also going through this, and you're not alone. Yes.
The blind is holding another blind's hand.
Now, I have a question. Maybe this is for Harry. You see, I've had so many stories, so many, where you hear an adult like myself, they are like, I would have become this, but my teacher said it wasn't going to be possible. Like, there are certain sentences or phrases that the teachers used that hindered or stood in the way.
And I'm a witness of that.
Of people, from advancing. Yes, and
I'm a good example. I'm a witness of that.
Maybe if we can use your case study or any other case study.
If my French teacher,
what can you tell,
If my French teacher wasn't that arrogant and rude, I would have been the best French speaker in the world.
Today.
But as I can speak my good English, I would expect myself to be the same English speaker as I do in the French speaker in English. And here is why. When I was in school, I had a French teacher who could just come and say, Le français n'est pas la langue des imbéciles. C'est une langue des intelligents et intellectuels. Things like that. That phrase still stuck in my mind up now.
You crammed that phrase.
I have it in my mind, and I always tell people, when people are saying French, I say, Le français n'est pas la langue des imbéciles.
Oh my God.
Having come from the French-speaking country to English, it was a little bit easier for me to integrate, because my primary school was first in French, then the transition came in English, and later on I had to go through a French course, having already transitioned into English. So I had to go back to French roots. But again, my French was already lost. I lost it at the beginning because I met so good English teachers, and they really treated me well. I enjoyed the English, and I lost my French. When I stepped back into French, our French teacher had 3 rows in the classroom. Les intellectuels, those who made it maybe in the middle.
The intellectuals.
The intellectuals, the mediatories and those
Les imbéciles.
les imbéciles. Guess what? I was either the first, among the 3 first imbeciles in the classroom when it came to French. Very.
Among the first les imbéciles or among
les 3 premiers imbéciles.
Oh my God.
There. So that means I was struggling much in French to the extent when teacher could come, her papers of the quiz or any assignment were grouped into 3. Les intellectuels, the middle ones, and the les imbéciles. And always from the imbecile to the intellectuals. That time, I had to sit down and rethink what to do with this French. I told my mind, and I remember going back to my home and tell my dad, I am no longer into French. I don't know whatever it takes, but I and French are 2 different things.
Because now in your mind, you're struggling with, you don't want to be called imbecile.
Yes, and I cannot step up. Nobody's there to tell me, step up until you reach the intellectuals level. So the teacher only minded about the intellectuals in the room, the cheerings, the everything, as much as the motivation is concerned, the intellectuals in the classroom, as long as French is concerned, those were her favorite class. And I'm saying this to showcase or to demonstrate how teachers can be effective to children's mental health.
Yeah.
I always tell my fellow teachers, if a child is struggling in your lesson and passes another lesson, it is a good example that you're the problem, not the child's problem. And this is the fact from science, from anywhere. If the child passes in science subject and fails in math subject, it is a good example that the teacher is the problem, not the children. Because the energy the child uses in math, not in science, you should ask yourself, why is this student doing better? Not in my subject, but in somebody else's subject. That's when you become a problem.
Yeah.
And from your question now is, the teachers can either destroy or build children's mental health.
That's true.
Thank you.
Wow. He said something very important. If a child has 4 subjects and maybe they're doing very good in 3 and they're struggling in 1, it could be the way the teacher is delivering the concepts and maybe the methodology of delivering that subject. So it's very important that the teacher doesn't run to condemning this child, but finding out what could be the problem. But also, we all don't sit at the same learning pace. Like, one child could be very, very quick when it comes to picking concepts, while another has to understand. Some children, also growing up has helped me to learn that there are some children who want, first of all, you answer their why. Why are you teaching me this? Before you answer that subject, they will look at you like, we are looking at the camera, and that's it. So you have to answer their why. So teachers, it's very important that you check. Yes, over to you, Dr. Michelle. What has been your lived experience when it comes to teachers and the kind of words that they tell the children that will not only impact their grades, by the way, but it impacts their life, like their long life? You find somebody in their 50s, but they're telling you something their teacher told them when they were 7 years. Yeah.
Okay, I lived through it as well. The fact that you go, maybe you fail a subject, instead of the teacher to find out what is wrong with you or why this child failed, he would set you as an example for failures. So once you've already been told you are a failure, that sticks with you. So even if you have the capability of doing that subject better, he has already put something like a stamp. You are a failure. Yeah. So you won't even struggle.
You don't want to try.
Yes, because he has already said I'm a failure. Personally, with the language. One thing, for me, it was the same, learning language, new languages. I remember a teacher told me, you are not cut up for this. So I have grown knowing that I am not caught up for it. The funny thing is, I got married to someone who doesn't speak English. He's coming from a French-speaking French-speaking country, and I don't speak French. And he has been trying to teach me French, but I'm like, I've blocked my mind because I'm told I'm not good in languages.
Yeah.
Until recently, I'm like, I need to start trying. I met a friend recently who showed me an app that I can try to learn new languages. And I'm also encourage my son to learn his father's language, because me, I speak English and Kiswahili. Them, they speak French and Lingala. We are two people from two different worlds. So the child has to know. He can't say I am a Congolese, yet he can't speak the language. You know?
Yeah.
So for the teachers, instead of condemning those children that they are failing, why don't they try to, what we call, use the failures as a stepping stone for them to succeed?
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's not even, as he said, sometimes it's not even the child, it is the teacher. The way you are teaching the kids, they don't understand. I remember even in university, there are some lecturers, when they come, we perform better.
Yeah.
Then there are some lecturers, when they come and teach us, you find the whole class, everybody failed, only 2 people. I remember, I will never forget my physics mock examination back in high school. The teacher came and started saying, the first person has 3 out of 100.
%?
Yes.
Wow.
I was the first person. At first, I thought I have failed. Then I started wondering, if I had 3, and in fact we were like 2 or 3 people, we had 3. The rest, there is 1, 2, and the rest 0. What does it make to you as a teacher?
But you know, some teachers feel so... There's a certain level of pride that comes with, you know, having made students.
For instance, it is there like in medical school. I don't know in other countries, but in Tanzania, teachers, lecturers, they say that medicine is hard. But I can say medicine is not hard. It's the way teachers are making, because them, they suffer during their days. Some other lecturers, they would come and say, I suffered during my days. You also have to suffer.
So it's payback time.
Yes.
And that's a good sign of mental health, mental illness, actually.
Yeah.
Because when you look at it, teachers uphold the narrative that we studied in this kind of environment, and they fail to upgrade and update their mind. And when they fail that, they think these young generations will also have to undergo through the same system
process that they went through.
Like we grew up where there was...
Make it better?
Exactly.
It's a frying pan that we all have to go through.
A lot of, you find now, a lot of parents, they're sending their children outside. You find that the education in abroad, it's much better than, it's not true. We're all receiving the same education. Is that, the difference is in our countries, most African countries, teachers have already put that thing that you have to suffer just like the way I suffered.
To go under the grill.
But again, the problem is, let me speak it from an organizational strategist perspective. The problem might not be teacher. Because in one way or another, everything raises and fall upon leadership concerning.
Yes.
And the problem here is, people need to evaluate their setup of leadership. Because I believe, if I treat you well, let's go at home, maybe the setup of home. If the dad treats the mom very well, the mom will treat the children very well. You see the hierarchy. So if the leadership above here has mental illness, the mental illness is passed from the leadership to the teachers, from teachers to student, from student at home. That's the hierarchy.
But it's also possible that it's the other way around, because you see, we are all coming from families. It might be that my leader is okay, but you know, when we are sourcing for employees, it's not so easy for you to get like the best of the best always. Sometimes yes, other times you fail.
Yes.
But it depends on how quick you're able to fire and hire the next person. So it is possible that Harry, from where you're coming from home, maybe there are issues at home. So you bring those issues in school. Even when I try so much as your leader to try and help you, without me understanding that there's a mental issue, sometimes we are fixing the wrong problem. So it should be that me as the leader, I understand that it is too human to have mental issues. And I should step in the shoe of trying to understand, why is my teacher behaving this way and how can I help?
And here is the problem, that I'm not still enforcing that the leadership is a problem. But again, I'm talking about the setup here. Because I worked for a place where there was the world setup, however much you could be suffering. As long as you step in the organization, you feel less overloaded. And not until the time you step out and face your external world.
You pick up
your things. And it's all about the conducive working environment. Because we could just come up at workplace, whenever you reach the big boss and everybody you meet is a friendly. And there is nothing behind this friendship. You just come to, because the boss used to tell us, if you don't feel you can do my work, don't think of coming to work. You see? It was not about terror and rule. It was about giving you space to evaluate yourself. Because at some point you could just wake up and say, my wife is sick. I don't find myself coming to work, leaving my wife at home. But look at another organization that maybe you wake up and tell me, Harry, excuse me, you're my boss, but today my Honda is sick. And I'll tell you, I don't mind about your son. All I need is the
deliverables.
We're done. Yeah. So you see how the setup is actually another problem. Because I believe that however teachers can be suffering, if they have somewhere they feel a little bit relieved, they will still deliver their best. And the problem still comes to personal, because I always tell people, whatever you were taught in school, you find it useless when you face the life. And that is the reality.
Yeah.
The psychology I was taught, as long as I don't see why I say that, whenever I face the life, it's up to me to decide either to go with what I was taught or to learn something. I love one of the podcasts that I love. It always says, it's time to learn and relearn.
Yeah, always.
That's the life metaphor. You have to learn and learn what you think is not right and relearn. And one of the problems, as Doctor has mentioned, teachers are still upholding strongly to the belief that if I suffered, you have to suffer.
Yeah,
that is where
a point of saying, you know what? I mean, what they're trying to live for here is, I have to pay back in one way or another. Like
that is
this
what
pain, for them to be able to say, you know what, I'm now done with this pain. They have to transfer it to someone.
That is what I call it, a mindset debt. I have a program, a mini podcast where I talk about beliefs and behaviors that are holding us behind.
Yeah.
So if we change our mindset, you suffered, it doesn't mean someone else has to suffer. Why don't you end that cycle?
I know. Why can't you be the first one to put an end to that cycle?
Exactly. That is, a lot of people are there. We are not progressing, not because of money, not because of poverty, as people would write a whole list of why we are not progressing. But in reality, sometimes we are not progressing because of our mindset.
Yeah.
Even the teachers, sometimes the teachers, they might do all their best, but the student has refused to change the mindset. You find, I don't like this teacher.
Yeah.
So I don't like the subject.
And sometimes it's because a friend of mine told me they didn't like the teacher.
Yes, it's like you find...
Or someone who left 3 years
ago. He said there is teacher so-and-so who is like this. So because I already told, my mind is stick that I don't like teacher so-and-so. So even the subject, I'll hate it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's not even the teacher, sometimes even the students themselves. So if we do not change our mindset as a society, there will be little to no change at all.
Wow, I feel like now this conversation has about 3 or 4 layers. We have elementary learners. We also have, like, let's talk about secondary school learners. But we have university learners, and we have now the teachers at whatever level. And I feel like our viewers, those of you that are viewing this conversation, we want you to get back to us and tell us at which point do you really want us to come and have conversations to help you or your institution to understand and speak more in depth about mental health. It's a big concern if we have to advance. And you have just reminded me that for some students or for some teachers, it's a point of revenge. Some people are so vengeful until it is done, until they have revenged. It will never be.
It will never end.
It will never.
They keep the cycle.
The cycle will keep moving.
Yeah, I remember in that was my primary 5, primary 6. One of my teachers, my math teacher. Actually, I used to love math, but I don't love math
Anymore.
Now I love business math. Ask me about financial wellness. But the math that I used to love at that point, I think
The trigonometry and all the other.
So this teacher, you know what he did? So the story came out later, but I was one of the first 3 students, and at that point I got 75, and another friend got 78, and another got, I think, 73. So I was like the second in class. And he took all of us, the 3, and he told us that he was going to stroke us, like really beating us. For me, I used to fear canes so much. Even now, I fear canes. So he put us down, and what really struck me so much, one of the kids we were with, because he lied down before, he beat him up until the child started to roll, fainting. And so we all took off. Lucky for those of us who hadn't received our punishment, we ran. But you can imagine, it has started from me teaching you, and then you not hitting the mark of 90 as the bright students in class. And now you have to lie down for punishment. Each one of us was supposed to get, I think, 7 strokes. Now, when this child lies down to receive his punishment, you stroke him so hard to the extent the child starts to roll on the ground, like fainting. Is that about marks? You can ask yourself. That's not about marks. That's not because this child has got 73 or 75
that's about
or 70.
trauma.
This means that this teacher is actually living with trauma, is living with an issue that will never end until maybe he has seen a child die.
Maybe.
Yeah?
Maybe
so you
not.
can see that this is a mental health issue. Even those teachers who love to punish, they have to be checked. It's not about punishing, because the punishment will be packaged in a way that it's a punishment with love. It's not a punishment to the extent you want to see somebody's child roll on the ground.
And there have been cases where kids are being beaten to death.
Exactly. Yeah. So mental health for teachers is a big concern, those of you that are viewing us. And as we draw towards the end of this conversation, I would like, maybe Harry, we start from you, key takeaways for our viewers, and then we will give you a good promise of coming back to deliver more.
There are 5 or 6 things I would love to say about mental health as much as teachers are concerned. But number 1, I would tell teachers, education, it's something that is built not from the board and the chalk, but from someone's soul. Because this goes beyond. The reason why I'm still remembering the teacher who told me that French phrase, it's not because she didn't write it on the board, she spoke it.
Yeah.
And this phrase that passed away through the words is still up with me, and maybe I'm going to die with it.
Yeah.
Do you see how deep is the education system? And now our teachers...
So now it means even this teacher
has certain trauma. Because at some point, if I was to do the revenge, imagine what I would come to these children telling them. Now, if I'm teaching science and math, and the child fails mathematics, which is thought to be the hardest subject, and I was told that le français n'est pas la langue des imbéciles. I'm going to translate it, le mathématique n'est pas le cours des imbéciles. And this narrative is going to go on. And these the children I'm teaching, maybe he's going to do medicine. He will tell the medicine student that le médecin n'est pas le cours des imbéciles, until the narrative goes on and the whole society is poisoned to the extent now we don't have young generation. So the only thing I always tell teachers, if you feel you cannot teach, don't go to class. That is the best thing you can ever do. And something that is, teachers are the only people who can control their public image. If they want, they can. Because I have the perspective from this. You will find at some point a child will run away around the school looking for one teacher. And the school is made by 50 teachers. And the children is moving from grade 1 to grade 12 looking for one teacher. This proves how a teacher can build up on their public image in student. And trust me, if this image is built within young people, the society of adults still makes it. So it's up to the teachers to sit and say, how do I want to be seen by children? I always tell my fellow teachers, there are 4 images of a humankind. And when it comes to teachers, this is something to take personally. There is the way you think you are as an individual. There is the way you think others perceive you that you don't know. That is what your illusion. Maybe I think Aggie thinks I am a good speaker. But that's what you think. You're not sure of what thing. There is the way Aggie think I am that I'm not. And there is now what I want Aggie to uphold on me. Those are 4 images. So it's up to teacher to craft only one more important image. What the children must think you are. It's not who you are. It's not what you think or what you want them to perceive. It's what you think these children think you are. So that's image. You can craft it and pass it to the children. And when they have the best image of you, they will learn whatever lesson you can teach.
That's very true. And I always like to say that actually learners, or especially the young ones, they are just young in body and in age, but they are very mature. They can analyze and they can tell that this is a truthful teacher, this is a kind person, this is there than that. They can tell, but they don't have a choice. They just have to learn how to put up with you. So that is very profound. Yes, key takeaways for our audience today, Dr. Michelle.
For me is that, one, mental health needs to be integrated in schools and in every sector because it's part and parcel of our lives. The second one is that we should, as much as it's being integrated also, there should be what we call trauma-informed care. The trauma-informed care is when you find a child is traumatized, you are at risk of re-traumatizing. So how do you deal with that trauma? That is they should also, apart from just mental health being integrated, also they should have a trauma-informed approach. They should be taught a trauma-informed approach, how to deal with a traumatized person. And another thing is for schools, workplaces, they should have mental health days where a professional comes and talk to them about mental health, or also have those retreats, we call them, where they can go and refresh their mind or have. And another thing is they should, workplaces, schools, they should create a safe environment where teachers and students can say, I am not okay, without being judged, without being feel like they are weak. And when that space is created, both the school, the teachers can thrive. Another thing is that self-awareness. I like to talk about it a lot. People need to be taught about self-awareness, how they can understand their feelings, their thoughts, and how they act. What triggers me? When I'm stressed, what do I do? In that one, it will reduce. There are a number of people who they rely on substance abuse for them to move on with their day. You find someone is going through something because he can't say it. So what the person does, he goes and relies on alcohol. You find a teacher or anybody, he's going to work. We call them functional addicts. I used to be a functional addict where I go to work drunk. And and I am functioning very well. Because I do not have a place where I can release my problems. So if the workplaces can have those assisted programs for employees, employees who are struggling, what can they do to get themselves back to reality, and them to understand if 1, 2, 3, 4 is happening, this is what I'm supposed to do. Because there are so many health coping mechanisms. Right now, when I'm stressed, I know what to do. Sometimes I go hiking, sometimes I go golfing, sometimes I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And like previously, I would just end up take a bottle of whiskey or go to a bar and spend the whole night there, wake up in the morning, go to work as I'm drunk.
So you can imagine even the productivity levels.
Exactly. So we need to invest
Yeah.
in the employees.
Yeah.
Let it be teachers, the employees.
Yeah.
Investing them in their mental health, that is something is going to bring the return.
Yeah.
And the return is a working place that where people can thrive. Kids, including not only teachers, even the staffs. You find a secretary. I remember there was a time I walked into an office. I was just asking, where can you please direct me somewhere? And the person just shouted at me.
Yeah.
If he found me some years back, we would have gone back and forth. But then I understood that person, he might be going through something. So I looked for somebody else to direct me. When I was coming out, the lady called me and apologized. And what he told me, I'm sorry. I told her, I understand. And I left. So you understand how mental health, the impact it is. Yeah. So,
Wow.
But
Thank you
doctor,
so much. Yes.
this is getting to, maybe we are ending the podcast, but there's a concern that is coming up to my mind. From my perspective, or from what I've gained from this podcast, is that mental health is not a one-man race.
Yeah. And it can never be.
And let me give you a personal invitation at my workplace. Can you find a time, maybe after this week, this one we are starting on Monday? I don't know, maybe I have to adjust it with the staff. But this is something that, most importantly, the schools. Why do I say the schools? Because life, however much a parent can raise a child, if the school is not well structured, the child will end up dying.
Yeah.
I don't know what the parents can do to rebuild what a teacher has destroyed. But in my perspective, nothing. If teacher has destroyed a child from school, it doesn't matter how much money you hold, what position, how intellectual you are. If the teacher has destroyed a child, you will not fix that. And that is why I'm saying, and I'm calling up on all the teachers, as same as the educational institutions, to deal with mental health. So I'm personally giving you my personal invitation. Maybe I have to deal with the schools, but this is something that I feel my fellow teachers and my fellow co-workers can benefit from.
Yeah, true. It is definitely very important. And here at the Hagne space, we are speaking about this because we want this podcast, we want this conversation to reach as many people as possible, especially schools, school teachers, school administrators, school promoters, to be able to think deeply when it comes to matters of mental health. Because our goal is to create awareness for one single reason. We want a generation that is functional. We normally speak about dysfunctionalities within a household, but when the school environment, when the school setup is dysfunctional, it will definitely produce a child that you've been explaining. And just like we said earlier, you will tell a child that 1 + 1 is 2. But if their teacher said 1 + 1 is 3,
1.
you are going to argue the entire day, the entire night, until, as a parent, we are very good at giving up. You're like, you just don't understand. You give up. So it's very important for us to speak about a functional or a functioning school system, because from the school, the child comes from home. And the interesting part, when you look at it from the time factor, students or children spend more time at school.
Yeah.
When you look at the calendar of the 365 days, they spend more time within the school setup. That means because of the amount of the time they spend there, that environment will have greater impact on the
children.
child's life today and the days to come. So friends, you've been listening to us here at the Hagne space, speaking about mental health. Our desire is that we can all think or rethink, like Harry said, let's agree to take the journey of learning, unlearning, and relearning about mental health. See you until next time.